I knew that collaborating on songwriting would be difficult for a lot of people, because I was known very much for my independence and the fact that I wrote these quirky songs that were not typical structure, not typical sound, you know, really original stuff. I write by myself initially. That's the way I've always written, just working on pure thought by myself. Then I bring it to the table with whoever I'm collaborating with. I like writing different types of music. I like writing Christian music. I like collaborating with Christian artists. We have a Christian following. I love writing kids' music. I love getting into a studio with a bunch of friends. When the day's done, we've made something. We recognize that we're from different walks of the music industry, and there's no reason we shouldn't be collaborating. That's what I'm trying to create with the Nuno 2, a sense of community. One of the most interesting aspects of the film project was collaborating with so many people, directors, filmmakers, and writers, over a 5-year period. I learned that there are 2 components to this. Teddy Kennedy rose to become a liberal lion by collaborating with Republicans. For me, Atmosphere was more about looking inwards and reaching out to people close to me. To emphasize the fact that I'm singing on the first single, this album is really more about me and songs that I've written instead of collaborating with people. I love collaborating with people. I'm always up for collaborating with brands and people who actually design, but doing your own line is a whole other beast. I don't think I could deal with the criticism. I found collaborating with congenial doctors about problems that physicists could help solve was very satisfying. I also like educating anybody who would listen. I always want to be a part of ensembles. Besides it feeling safer, I think it's a more fun environment to work in. To have a bunch of people collaborating on something, it takes the pressure off of each individual. You can have the best people in the business, but if they're not collaborating, and they're butting heads, then it's all going to go south. The real excitement is collaborating with computer scientists and neuroscientists and starting to understand in detail how children learn so much so quickly. Of course, we had the best possible classical education, which gave us a very strong foundation and tradition. But we also learned a lot by collaborating with different pop/rock artists and especially by recording and working in the studio. Early on, after gay liberation, there was an almost Stalinist pressure from gay critics and even gay readers to write about positive role models. We were never supposed to write negative things about gays, or else we were seen as collaborating with the enemy. A large part of my work has been collaborating with composers. I think we've commissioned about 140 pieces now, a lot of them percussion concertos. In the mid-90s, I quit my job as a senior feature writer at The Mail on Sunday in the UK, and became a ghost writer, collaborating with politicians, pop stars, psychologists, soldiers and sporting legends who needed help in penning their autobiographies. I love collaborating with people, but I also really love working by myself. It's as if I were collaborating with myself, revealing my relationship to the material. My hand would make the drawing, then my mouth would transmit it. When I write on SNL, I've found I'm most productive while collaborating and joking with friends and not being firmly attached to any one idea. I don't see females in the industry collaborating as much as guys do, so I really would love to entertain more of that. The more alone I am, the more focused I can get. I've written things with people, some of which I liked and others I think are total travesties. Collaborating is trying to make a piece of music and get someone else to come up with the ideas. What's the fun of that? You know, you can have someone who's the very best at something, but if there's not that kind of chemistry, collaborating is not going to amount to anything. That by listening to some music, by reading some books, by looking at paintings, and most important by hanging out with one another, by collaborating with one another and creating your own network, you can achieve something that is much better than what is out there. Sarah Palin, now don't laugh, is writing a book. Not just reading a book, writing a book. Actually, in the word of the publisher, she's collaborating on a book. What an embarrassment. It's one of these, I told you, books that jocks do. I've always been very comfortable in a set environment. All the collaborating going on, seeing how actors work, it all excites me. The director is the ultimate creative arbiter of what's going to happen. And as a director myself, you really appreciate collaborating with people who are trying to help you find what you need and what you want. I'm no good at anything but comedy, which I think I'm good at. I'm absolutely no good at networking. I'm terrible at acting. I'm terrible at dealing with executives. I'm terrible at collaborating, and I say whatever I want to say, but I think I'm good enough at comedy that I can survive, and I don't really have an ambition for money. Pakistan never valued Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan Saab until English songwriter Peter Gabriel started collaborating with him. After that, the country suddenly realized that they have an amazing talent. This is the story of a lot of artists there. Digital companies can reach new customers immediately and at virtually zero marginal cost. They can compete in new sectors by collaborating with peers and competitors. They can massively improve quality and productivity by converging technologies and sources of data. I don't think I ever got the hang of the writer's room. I love collaborating with people, but I really do my best work alone, and I think I would want to, if I did something again. I think I'd want to take total ownership the way Aaron Sorkin or David Kelly does. Everything that works on the internet depends on a lot of people collaborating, but there's also these rules that you see across all the really successful platforms. Many more people consume the information or benefit from the information than actually contribute the information. A poet should always be collaborating with his public, but this public, in the mass, cannot make itself heard, and he has to guess at its requirements and its criticisms. I love collaborating. I've done art on my own, and I've also collaborated with other people to make art. And collaborating with other people is always interesting because you end up doing things you probably wouldn't do otherwise. I love collaborating with different people. The biggest neurological turn-on for people is other people. This is what really excites us. In reward terms, it's not money, it's not being given cash, that's nice. It's doing stuff with our peers, watching us, collaborating with us. You're really creative when you're in an environment that you don't know how to handle. So collaborating was like that for me. I think that was one of the reasons why I knew I was gonna get a challenging reaction. I haven't given any thought to collaborating with my sisters. It would be great fun. My daughter Molly is a wonderful writer. Someday I'd love to collaborate with her. I think my collection is doing really well, but collaborating is actually just a nice exercise in doing something different. For example, I do things very differently for Moncler that I wouldn't specifically do for me. For me, I can do whatever I want. With other companies, you have to stay responsible to them. It's a tough thing to know that when you're making your album, you're going to end up collaborating with, say, Walmart, on your artwork. That just sucks. And the pressure behind getting the numbers real fast is, to me, dizzying. Working with and collaborating with and for Peter Jackson was an incredible experience because he is such a phenomenal filmmaker. Candor is the key to collaborating effectively. Lack of candor leads to dysfunctional environments. Whether I am collaborating with different people, I like changing projects conceptually so I can grow. I just like collaborating. I love fashion, and I love clothes, and so collaborating and putting pieces together is a passion that I have. Open source is a beautiful way of collaborating, but what's happening on the free internet is more akin to the crowdsourcing of journalists and other content creators by advertisers who no longer have to pay them, only the search engines that parse their articles. Hamas thinks they can kill the will of people by intimidation. Most of those who are killed in the Gaza Strip for the suspicion of collaborating with Israel have nothing to do with Israel. Some people work very closely with a director or a producer on something, and from the get-go, they're collaborating. But typically, it's just go in for an audition, do the best you can, and if the phone rings a couple of days after the audition and you get the part, that's great. The idea of collaborating with anyone else was quite daunting. If Battles had any trepidation in asking me, I can assure you I had more after agreeing to do it. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.